and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode in the Greger Family Farmstead. I'm going to tell you today about how we grew these beautiful onions from onion sets and about how to tell when they're ready to harvest. I grew sweet corn and field corn in this part of my garden last year. 3 years ago, this part of the garden was all sod. Even 2 years ago, I didn't plant anything in this part of the garden, so I believe last year was the first time that we grew anything on this part of the garden other than sod. And I manured it, I put manure down, I grew corn here. The roots from the corn really helped to break up the soil. So onions are a bulb vegetable, and they do need reasonably good soil to grow in. So we can see this onion's nice and big. So now I'm going to show you how I tell what onions are ready to be harvested. This onion right here, the stem is super flaccid. It's not standing up at all. It's not going to grow any bigger, pretty much. Even though it's kind of on the small side as far as onions go. Onions are a bulb vegetable, so it's important that you plant them in soil that is reasonably broken up, not too clayey. I planted some of these same onion sets in another area that had a lot more gravel, and they did not do nearly as well. There are two main ways that I preserve onions for my family. The first one is simply just that I cure the onions by drying them out really well, and I'll explain more how to do that later in this video. The other method is that I will chop them up, usually in the food processor, and freeze them in bags. And that's really nice, especially if you want to have some quick onions to throw into soups and casseroles in the winter. It makes it really easy to use up a lot of onions and make delicious food. Now this one looks pretty flaccid. Whereas, like, for example, this one over here, the onion is huge, but there's still quite a bit of, it still just doesn't feel dried out on the stem. Part of the reason why I'm going through and checking my onions now is because I believe we're supposed to get rain this weekend, and so if there's any that are done growing and are ready to be harvested, I want to go ahead and pull those out now rather than waiting until they get all soaking wet again. That one I think could use a little more time. So you want to dry your onions in a moderately warm place. About 75 to 85 degrees is the ideal temperature. And you want it to have a low relative humidity. Do try to be careful as you're handling your onions that you're not damaging them or peeling more of the skin off than you can help, because you want this protective layer on them to help them cure properly. Now, my favorite surface to cure them on would ideally be slotted, such as a garden cart or a thick screen, but this table in our shop should work. It's light and airy, there's a good breeze. A lot of times people will stick a fan on them to help the air circulate. That's very helpful, especially if you have them in an area that doesn't have a whole lot of airflow. Now, I will definitely be checking back on my onions and turning them and removing any that look like they maybe are getting kind of soft or have a moldy spot, because one bad onion will spoil all your onions, or at least could spoil all your onions. My onions are different sizes. I do notice that the smaller ones seem to be dried first, so actually the bigger onions, most of them seem like they're not quite ready yet, so I'll be checking back on them over the next couple of weeks and probably harvesting them really soon. One of my favorite ways to store my onions over the winter, my onions that I've cured, is to braid them and hang them from my rafters. I have an open rafter ceiling in our main room, and I love to hang my garlic and my onions and my herbs there. Just it gives it a homey touch. Well, thanks for watching this, folks. I hope this has been a helpful addition on growing and harvesting onions. Please feel free to leave comments and questions in the comment section, and have a blessed week.